I just got done watching the Laval Rocket beat the Toronto Marlies 5-3. I mean, obviously. But more importantly, there was this guy out there. I don't know if you know who he is. I think his name's Cole or Goal. Professional debut. And he scored 2 goals and added an assist, including a top cheese Bardowski rip on the power play. A beautiful dangle through the slot past 2 Marlies for Xavier Ouellet to then finish off the play, and then gathered his own rebound and scored a goal on the breakaway. Woo! Yeah! Welcome to Buzzed Up and Baked, and we're going to get into tons of things here tonight. If you're new to this series, I invite you to have a toke, maybe have a beer. It's up to yourself. Not required, but encouraged. And we're going to sit down and talk some hockey. And this one, it's just me and yourself talking Habs only. You gotta love it. Cheers. Let's get it going. And as always, get in on the discussion down in the comments. I read them all. I reply to some. I don't like being the only one talking, and I enjoy getting the input from the people who enjoy watching my videos. And of course, hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy this content. Now, let's sit back and talk some Cole Caufield. First of all, what a performance in his professional debut. Not only does he win the Hobey Baker Award for Best NCAA Forward, but he follows it up with a professional debut of 2 goals and 1 assist, and that first one ripped it. It was past the goalie before he had any idea where it was. You couldn't see it on the replay. And credit to Jordan Wheel with that cross-seam pass. That was a beauty. Fed it right through the slot, through some defender sticks. And Cole Caufield showed that if you get that puck to him, he can release it in an instant. It's unbelievable what he can do. And the best part about his debut tonight is that each play was a little bit different. He really showcased what he's capable of. The second one dangles 2 Marlies defenders through the slot, tries to get the shot on net but falls. But Xavier Ouellet finishes it off and scores a goal. Cole picking up the assist. And then the third on the breakaway. And he gathers his own rebound. The kid just has a knack for the net. It's truly fun to watch. His skating looks really, really strong. He's fast. Positionally looked quite sound tonight. He definitely made an effort to back check, so you love to see that. Now, I still think we got to temper our expectations. I've been trying to do this as much as possible since he was drafted. The moment he was drafted 15th overall, everyone said we had a steal, literally. And I just doing my best to be objective and stay calm. And I've had my reservations about his size and his World Juniors performances, albeit the second one being a lot better. But I mean, kid's a real deal. Now, is he going to play for Montreal right away? They're not calling him up after tonight. I tell you that. And it'd be pretty cool to see them call him up for the game against the Leafs on Monday. But I don't think that's going to happen either. I mean, at least I would hope anyway that the Habs would have a predetermined amount of games that he would play. Because I think Habs management knows what they have in Cole Caufield. I have no doubt in that. But I think you still need to at least allow him to get comfortable at the professional level, get his timing going, get his confidence going. And that's the most important one, that confidence in professional level hockey. Get that going, and, you know, my number's 5. I think at the bare minimum, he has to play 5 games. It could even be 10. But the thing is that the AHL aren't doing playoffs this year, and that's really unfortunate for the Laval Rocket because they've been having a stellar season. Great performances from guys like Ryan Poehling, Jesse Olonen, Joel Teasdale, Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Otto Leskinen, Primo and net. Like all of them have stepped up. So that's huge to see our prospects really performing this year and taking that next stride in development. Unfortunate they're not doing playoffs, but I mean, do you really think Cole's going to be sitting at home while the Habs are in the playoffs? And that goes for a couple different Habs prospects as well. I don't think so. I really don't. And so bar minimum, he'll be on the roster this year. Now, could he earn himself a call-up after, say, 5 or 10? No doubt. He's got to prove it, but no doubt. And he would help our team immensely. Like, that's an understatement because that's a piece we are missing in our forward group. An elite finisher. And we've seen at every level that he's played at so far, his skill level against his peers is elite. So for him to come and do this in the professional level, that's already a really good sign. And what's making it hard for me not to get way too overexcited like I have about a ton of prospects in the past and been burnt. So now, when he does make it to the NHL this season, he's not a guy that can come in and be expected to take a bottom six checking role, regardless of the depth and the rolling four line stuff that the Habs do. You can't have him come in and be in your bottom six and have to play against the other bottom sixes of the NHL and those types of players. Because of his size and because he's so young, that's not what you can do. Because of his elite offensive ability, he's got to be in a top six of the Habs. And for that to happen, you have to have him paired up with a veteran, in my eyes. And that's what they did with him with Laval today. And at the same time, you'd probably want him playing with one of your young centers that he's going to spend a majority of the rest of his career with, like a Kotkaniemi or Suzuki. So those are options. And then on the left side, you put a veteran. You know, I'm not sure it could be Drouin because he's, you know, has his ups and downs defensively. I mean, Tatar's good, but he's handcuffed to Danault. So really, you'd be looking at Toffoli, and I think that'd be a really good one, or maybe even Perry. But I have a feeling Toffoli would be probably more comfortable playing the left side than Perry. Now, let me know what you think of who he'd play with. Another option could be just to throw him up on the first line with Danault and Tatar. I mean, two veterans, Gallagher's out. I mean, that could be a match made in heaven, seriously. With the defensive poise of Danault at center, the playmaking ability of Danault, and then the skill of Tatar and defensive ability and checking ability of Tatar. He's underrated at getting in on the forecheck and retrieving pucks on the board. So that could be a match made in heaven. But like I said, let me know what you think, who he'll play with when he gets called up to the NHL. Now, Habs lose last night. I didn't do a video for that one. Just didn't have time, but I'll touch on it briefly. It's just a frustrating loss, no doubt, but they outplayed the Winnipeg Jets quite handedly for the most part in that game, had a ton of scoring chances. Unfortunately, a couple softies go in the net for the Habs in the first period. Victor Mete at fault for one of them, and he ends up really not playing a whole lot the rest of the game, and that's a huge topic right now. I love Victor Mete, and I'm actually not that much of an advanced stats guy, but I love the kid, and I love his skating ability, and I think he has untapped offensive ability, and he's really having a hard time getting consistent minutes in the NHL, and it's because he's just soft in the defensive zone and he makes mistakes. Like, you just can't ignore that. But to me, maybe there's got to be a way for the coaches to utilize him in a better way where he's not put in a position to be in the D zone making mistakes. Like, just keep him out of there and just allow this kid to get his offensive game flourishing, because it could really help the Habs right now. Some puck movement from that left side. And he does a great job transitioning through the neutral zone, entering into the zone. But anyway, tough game last night for the Montreal Canadiens. They lose to the Jets, and it was just a lot of the same talking points. I mean, to me, a lot of complaints right now are about the D-core, and I don't think that's the main problem. Yes, they could be better, mainly in terms, I say it over and over, the puck moving from the left side. We have one established top four puck moving defenseman. One. Jeff Petrie, because that's not typically Shea Weber's game. He's a goal scorer. He's poised with, making the safe plays up the ice, but he's not going to be deceptive and dynamic up the ice. He's a rock, and lots of complaints about him lately, but again, he plays against top lines every night, big minutes, and he's going to get beat by elite talent here and there. It's going to happen because that's what he's facing. But what he does in the defensive zone on a consistent basis, he's extremely hard to play against in the corners. He does make those smart passes up the ice in the D zone. He strips pucks off guys quite easily. But because he's in that role of a shutdown defenseman, I feel like the odd mistake gets blown out of proportion. I do not like that he's paired with Joel Edmondson right now. Despite me really enjoying Joel Edmondson's season, I think the smart move, you bring him back to play with Petrie, because when Petrie was with him, Joel Edmondson was just a rock defensively, and Petrie was incredibly creative, dynamic, and a threat. Every night for the Habs, sniping Genos, just making disgusting plays up the ice, really had the skating going. I don't know if maybe a slight injury kind of timed up with when they put Kulak back with him, but the offense kind of dipped from Petrie. Kulak and Petrie have still been incredible in terms of the advanced analytics from the back end and the transition up the ice, but the dynamic offensive game from Petrie has kind of lacked. Now, you put Edmondson back there, go back to what works. That frees up Kulak to play with Weber, and Kulak, I'm unbelievably impressed with his poise that's coming along. He's really coming into his own, and at the beginning of his prime as a defenseman, there's some untapped potential there. He looks like Jeff Petrie about 4 years ago. Seriously. Still doesn't have the stats to back it up offensively, but there's something there. He's very calm with the puck on the offensive blue line, and he doesn't make mistakes. When do you ever see Brett Kulak make a mistake? There's something there. Put him with Weber. Get that transition game next to him. Maybe give Romanov some shifts up there with Weber. Maybe give Mete some shifts up there with Weber as well. You know, help him out in the D zone, and he can get his transition game going, and maybe some chances in the O zone. He generated probably one of the Habs' best chances last night, offensively, and he does make a mistake defensively, but then he finds himself stapled to the bench the whole time. So I understand, a lot of people say he's only got a couple skills, skating and passing, but there's more to that than Mete, and I'd love to see it come out. But if it's not going to be through trade, the coaching staff at least has to try giving Weber one of our transitionally strong defensemen who can alleviate some of the pressure from him having to be the one to move the puck up the ice, or at least give that top pair more balance to move the puck up the ice. And again, splitting Kulak and Petrie up, two transition defensemen, I mean, I don't understand why we have two shutdown together and two transition guys together. Wouldn't it make more sense to swap that so that there's balance in the top four? Anyway, that's enough about that. The Habs forward group, I think, is the main problem. Back to my original point. I'm comfortable with the D. It would be nice to bring in an EKHOLM or Vince Dunn. That would help our forwards, no doubt. But the forwards are having a really tough time finishing right now, and they're leaving Jake Allen out to dry. I mean, he has to only allow one goal to get a win right now, essentially. They're scoring 2 on average for him. I don't understand the difference between him and Price, and it's 2 goals a game for Allen and over 3 for Price. I mean, Price allows a few more, so you kind of have to score more when Price is in the net, and maybe Price's transition game helps out the defenseman and the forwards a bit, but I can't see it making that drastic of a difference. And Jake Allen's good with the puck handling anyway. It's just not cool. It's seriously not cool what the Habs forwards are doing to Jake Allen right now. And I'm not sure I'm too happy with Dom Ducharme's lines right now. Something you can say is that this group has been switched around so much. I mean, the Gallagher injury, that's a big one, so you got to switch the lines for that. Then there's Toffoli was out for a bit, had to juggle for that. Staal comes in, and then you immediately insert him into the top 6, and it just throws off the whole forward group. I mean, he made the decision, so he's probably going to stick with it for, a bit of time. Same thing, how Cole Caufield should have a, assigned amount of time to be in the A. I think Kotkaniemi, for example, on the top line, he probably said, here, you're playing here for 5 games. Let me see what you can do, type of thing. But I'm just not sure I like Eric Staal in the top 6. And no disrespect to Eric Staal. He was elite in his prime. But right now, I'm just not sure he's a top 6 player, even though he played some, quality top 6 minutes for Minnesota a few years back. Statistically, anyway, himself, the team didn't go nowhere. So that's not a situation we want to get ourselves in. I personally think a veteran like Eric Staal, as long as he buys in, would be a very strong piece in the Habs bottom 6, and it would sort out our lines a little bit better. Because he's great at face-offs. You can just kind of throw him out there for a D-zone face-off with wingers that are defensively responsible, kind of treat it as a checking line, and maybe get some depth scoring out of it as well. But the main thing, win the draw, get the puck up the ice, and out of the danger zone. To me, that would be an ideal role for a big center like Eric Staal. And don't get me wrong, he could be an extra attacker, obviously play on the power play in front of the net. He's a great net front presence because of his size. And again, because of his size, he's good at gathering the pucks along the board. So bottom 6 with power play time for me. And then you keep Kotkaniemi at center where he belongs. The way he plays, he's defensively responsible. His skating, it keeps getting better. And he's not often at a position. He made a pretty bad mistake a couple nights ago against, I think it was Ottawa, But that's not common for him. And you want to see him have the chance to learn from those mistakes. We got to live or die by our young players, and our young players, two of them, Suzuki and Kotkaniemi, are centers. And so, first line, Danault, Tatar, obviously, and then you'd have Gallagher on the right, but he's injured right now. That's a huge loss for us. The engine of this team is gone. The guy who drags them into the fight every night, or scores a clutch goal to tie up a game, or just wears out the opposition because of his grind. Unbelievable respect for Gallagher, but he's gone. So to his right, instead of Kotkaniemi, to me, you got to keep that line with speed. So the only options are Byron and Josh Anderson. And if I got to pick, I think it's pretty obvious. You put Josh Anderson up there, and the speed that he has, plus his ability to forecheck in the corners, the big body, and get the pucks back and get it onto Danault and Tatar's stick to do the skill. Then Anderson can get in position to score a goal. I mean, that makes the most sense to me. And then you go down to your second line, and you'd have I guess Suzuki, Drouin, and then to their right, Armia is about to come back from injury very soon, and they were very strong in the return to play and a very brief short stint that they played together this season. They got up on the board, so you put Armia there. He's typically not a top six guy, but it would allow the two skilled guys to really, let their offensive game flourish, because Armia is going to take a lot of that defensive responsibility and the board play and the puck retrievals and the 50-50 battles, especially on his side of the ice. Plus, he's got some underlying hands and a shot too, but it allows Suzuki and Drouin to get the skill going. And, it's unfortunate Suzuki's having a bit of a sophomore here, slump this year. It really is. It's not awful. For sure. It's not like he dropped off the map, and he is in a tough position playing center in the NHL at such a young age in the Habs top six, but was really hoping he'd be one of these young elite guys that just comes in on fire like a Barzal and just lights the league up. Unfortunately, not so far this year. I'm not worried about the kid though. He's extremely smart, extremely skilled. We got a good one on our hands there. But so you have Suzuki, Drouin, and Anderson together. And then you have Kotkaniemi back into his regular position, and you pair him up with Toffoli and Perry. I feel that's straightforward, and they've got on the board together a bit here this season, and Toffoli and Perry are starting to gather some chemistry as well. So you love to see that. Now, fourth line, then you're left with the Eric Staal, Arturi Lehkonen, and Paul Byron line. And you also have the option to put Jake Evans on that line at right wing, so you could swap that out between Paul Byron or Jake Evans. And, Jake is having his struggles as a rookie in his first full season in the NHL, but overall, I like his skating, and I like his, depth offensive ability. He's made some really strong plays this year in the offensive zone and on the penalty kill shorthanded. So I definitely think he's deserving of some minutes in the NHL. But it just depends who that fourth line has better chemistry with. I think that makes a lot more sense than what they have lined up right now. But, Montreal is not as bad as they've played the last week. I mean, we've lost 3 out of 4, which is tough. 2 of them against really good teams, the Leafs and the Jets. 1 against the Sens, and for some reason they have our number. That's something that has to be improved this season. The Habs play against the Sens and the Calgary Flames, no doubt. You don't want to be in a position where you're allowing Calgary to get back in this race. I mean, thank God, Calgary and Vancouver basically sabotaged each other with their swaps back and forth, and have found themselves both struggling mightily this season. Because if it wasn't for that, in a kind of weak Canadian division, the Habs would be in a race. But like I said, you don't want to be in a position where you allow Calgary to get back in there, because I don't think they're as bad as what they've been. I really, really don't, especially with Markstrom and that. There's just something wrong there. But the Habs aren't as bad as how they've played. We've got Ben Sherratt out, and he ate a lot of defensive minutes. I still think, I'd prefer a more puck-moving style defenseman back there than Ben Sherratt, because I think Joel Edmondson and him are essentially the same player. Sherratt maybe a bit, they're essentially the same. But Joel Edmondson's season this year is nothing but impressive. Plus minus, he's ahead by a mile, and tons of people dislike that stat. But the main thing, people don't understand that stat. It's a 5-on-5 stat, and it's a team-related stat. So it shows that he gels with his teammates and he plays strong defensively. 5-on-5, he's out there for way more goals than he is against. So you can't just ignore it. The season he's having is really strong and he's hard to play against. But like I said, him and Ben are essentially the same player. I would prefer to have a more puck-moving style defenseman like a Dunn or an EKHOLM, like I've mentioned. And EKHOLM would be smart to go after because he's got a year term left. But I do like Ben nonetheless, and he makes this team better. So there's that. Gallagher's out. He's missed 2 games now. It's clear we are missing him mightily, but we've got to figure something out there. And Caufield maybe is the answer in a couple weeks here. But until then, Corey Perry can't continue being our best forward. I feel that's obvious, and it really doesn't make the rest of them look good. I understand this season's a grind, but someone here has to step up and fill a void. And it's got to be, I think Drouin, is an obvious choice. The guy just cannot find consistency in the NHL. He's only scored 2 goals this year. That's brutal. He's on pace for 45 points over a typical 82-game season. That is not enough. Not enough whatsoever, especially in terms of where he was drafted at number 3. I've been holding out hope for this guy for a long, long time. But something is either off or this is who he is. They're talking about the wrist now. He's having trouble shooting, but he's got to get it together. So that's one for me, but it'd be nice to see maybe a Suzuki start really getting up on the board. Or even one of the veterans in the bottom 6. Lehkonen could do a lot more in terms of scoring goals. A typical Lehkonen play against Winnipeg the other night. Gets a grade A scoring chance. The whole top of the net's empty. Goaltender gets to make the save, and then it hits the crossbar. The guy can't buy a goal, and he has no luck on his stick. It's the release, though. Work on your release, bud. Seriously. Anyway, guys, I think that's about it. I don't want to drag this on too long. Let me know what you thought about Cole Caufield's night. Let me know what you think about the Habs lines in the forward group, the decor. And go Habs go. Hopefully this game against the Winnipeg Jets, the rematch on Saturday, is a lot better finish than what we saw last night, because it's hard watching these losses with the expectations we came into the season with. Habs moving forward down the line, I'm quite confident in what they're building as a franchise, but it'd be nice to have a winning season and go into the playoffs and make some noise. And it's looking like we'll have a shot to really display or prove ourselves against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'm confident in our team. I think they're capable of the upset, but they have to prove me right. And I'm hoping and praying they do. Because I can, that would taste so good. And I cannot deal with the Leafs Cup win this year. Honestly, I just can't. I feel like we can all agree there. I'm not even going to hide it. Anyway, guys, cheers. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Go Habs, go, baby.